This episode of the Mad Rush podcast.
I always talk about how to build confidence and where we find it, and whether or not we are leading and contributing to our community from a place of confidence or insecurity. Because it's actually really easy to confuse the two. Sometimes insecurity is loud and it's demanding and it needs the attention. I would argue that confidence says, I know exactly who I am, no matter who else is in the room. It doesn't mean I think I'm perfect. Like, perfect isn't real. That's something you'll hear me say over and over and over. We've got to stop making perfection the expectation.
Welcome to the Mad Rush podcast. I'm Trisha Addix, the original Sorority Rush consultant. While the stories I have to share are nothing short of astonishing, this podcast goes beyond the wild client tales and sorority life. I'll be engaging with fascinating guests from both within and outside the Greek world, uncovering the surprising connections that bind us all together. Join me for a journey that's as entertaining as it is enlightening. Welcome to Mad Rush. Y'all, I am so excited. My book, The Rush Bible, is available for pre-order from Simon & Schuster. It's coming out next May, but you can order it now, and it's going to be great for anyone who's considering going through Sorority Rush. This is the book for you. You can order it today. The link is in the show notes, and it's also on my Instagram at Rush with Confidence. And I can't wait to get this great information on how to crush Sorority Rush out to all of you. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I appreciate you. So today I am joined by the fabulous Lizz Carter Clark. She is an international speaker, best-selling author, and the founder of College Moxie, which I can't wait for you to hear about. She's also, is or was an actress or an actor?
I say was.
And you were on what? The Young and the Restless, Jane the Virgin, the Emmy Award-winning Feud miniseries. That's super cool. So we're joined by a star, y'all, and she's now an international speaker, and she says that she previously only played one on TV. So welcome, Liz. I'm so excited for you to be here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here too.
So y'all, when I was talking to Liz about being on this podcast, we were like, okay, let's have a little call beforehand, which ended up being an hour. And I was like, we could have just recorded this because it's so interesting. She is so interesting and accomplished. And we are together in our missions, and not together like actually physically. She's in California and has a totally different nonprofit company, but we have a lot of similarities in what we believe. So I can't wait to get into it.
Me too.
So talk about your transition from acting to speaking in advocacy and what you're doing. So in your background.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So a little bit of my nutshell story. I grew up in a fantastic, supportive family, always felt a lot of love and laughter in our home, always just was kind of taught that I can be and do anything that I want if I put in the hard work. And
which, if you're listening, that is true. Put in the hard work. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. Very important piece. Nothing just happens, right? And so growing up, I did a lot of acting, a lot of singing, dancing, just whatever was available. But when I was a freshman in high school, my youngest brother, Scott, was diagnosed with osteogenic sarcoma, which is a very aggressive bone cancer. And my parents were basically like, hey, your brother's got cancer. We've got to go see this specialist. Most of his doctors ended up being in Nebraska and Kansas City. And so they were like, we got to go. We'll be back. And my other brother and I are kind of looking at each other like, what is happening? And
so what is the birth order there? Was Scott?
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
Scott is the youngest. My other brother is middle, but I'd say he's always been a little more of the older child, and I've been a little more of the middle. I don't know if he would agree with that, but he was always more independent, and I was always more just kind of the peacekeeper, I think. Maybe a bossy peacekeeper. So I did have some of the oldest
That
child
doesn't
part
surprise
in
me.
there. Yes, I've learned how to use the superpowers of ADHD, but I think as a kid, it was just like, this is what we're going to do, and then this is what we're going to do. And I don't know. Some of my peers would probably say, that's exactly who you still are, but neither here nor there. Yeah, so we had a lot of support, but we went from feeling like, we were like this Norman Rockwell painting of a family to the rug just being ripped out from under us. And so for me personally, Scott was diagnosed when I was a freshman in high school. He was 10 at the time. And so it was just like, okay, this is happening. We're in go mode. We all just head down, did what we needed to do to get him the help that he needed. I have memories of like getting ready for the prom by myself and locking the door behind me. And, it was all just kind of our normal while we were in survival mode, but definitely took a toll on shaping those years of my life. And he ended up being sick for 3.5 years and then unfortunately lost his battle with cancer in the middle of my senior year, right before I went off to college. And I went to USC to get a degree in acting. Nobody knew me. Nobody knew that I was hurting. And I really had a choice in that moment. I was like, I've been acting my whole life. I would, as a toddler, stand on a table and sing for anyone that would listen, so I knew I could handle faking it, or I could be real and try to find authentic connections. And I decided I'm going to fake it. I'm totally going to fake it. And so that's what I did. And it became really exhausting. And it was actually through my sorority recruitment experience that I connected with some women that I felt safe enough with, that during the third round of recruitment, I walked in and they were like, hey, we're so glad to see you again. How are you doing? And I was like, actually, I'm not okay. I'm kind of a hot mess right now. This is what's going on with me. And risking this really awkward moment actually caused them to lean in. And I will just never forget these particular women being like, we see you. We are so sorry. How can we best support you? And
Oh, wow.
it absolutely changed my life. And so I'm such a proponent of the sorority experience because of what mine meant to me. But it was also that my life was so out of control. I think I told you on our other call that my coping mechanism with my life being out of control was leadership. I just ran the crap out of anything anyone would let me get my hands on so that I felt less out of control as a human. And when I speak on campuses, I'm usually like, does that resonate with anyone? And there are usually a lot of hands, or like, just like, yeah, that's me. So definitely happens. But once I got a degree in acting, that's what I did. I was fortunate enough to find a really great agent and manager right out of college. And so I started working in TV and film. But the whole time I was doing that, I was also volunteering with college women. And I was asked to come back as a mentor at USC only about 1.5 years after I was out of school. So I loved acting. It was so much fun. I always say it was my purpose during a time that I needed to pay my bills, but my heart purpose was always in empowering other women to know their worth. Because what I learned through volunteerism very quickly was that if I was just simply present, women would share their stories and they had a lot to say. And the biggest lesson I learned was I hadn't been nearly as alone as I thought that I had been. I thought that my insecurities, my feelings of inadequacy were because of my circumstances with losing my brother. But so many other people felt the same way that I did. And I just had associated mine with this grief thing that, wasn't terribly defined to me. I just knew that I was like a duck and I was trying really hard to be great above water, but underwater, I was just fighting for my life. It still just makes me tear up because of those women seeing me at a time that like, I didn't even fully see myself. I was just committed to like survival. Just really meant the world.
I feel like that's such obviously tragic and just beautiful story. But I think that sororities in general, of course, every group has its issue. And I'm not saying every sorority, I'm saying every group of people. But for you to feel that it's just so powerful. And I do think Greek life can give you those deep connections that really can get you through and then sustain you for a really long time. You're out of college. I don't know how long. We don't want to talk about it.
Couple years.
Just a couple years. But it really is. It's so, and I hear so many stories about that. And there are some stories in my book about how when it's completely not something that you think you're going to get from being in a sorority, and then you get it. And it is life-changing. And it's very cool that, are you still in touch with some of those people?
Yes. Yes, very much so. And it's beautiful. And, part of my leadership journey, I was the president of my new member class. I was the president of my chapter. I made up a role that needed, a title somewhere in between there. And it wasn't always easy. I mean, there was a moment when I was chapter president where I remember just like dropping the gavel and being like somebody else run this. I'm done right now.
Right.
I mean, like there were definitely ups and downs, as is life. And especially I think in a group of 300, 400, 500 women, like you're always going to have, I don't know, clashing dynamics is the right word, but just varying dynamics. Right. You've got a lot of different personalities, and it's not always easy, but my gosh, when that depth is there, it can be so meaningful. Because I really think, as I've started to unpack, like, wait a minute, why do so many women, especially at that age, have similar feelings, similar insecurities, similar frustrations and fears, think they're alone? Like, why is it that we don't trust one another? And oh my gosh, like I've really enjoyed the rabbit hole of that, of like, I just think we're taught from really young ages that there's not room for all of us. It's media, it's commercials. I mean, I was even part of that. There were certain jobs that I did that I was just like, oh gosh, I don't really know if this is the messaging that I want to be putting out there. I didn't think about it that clearly in the moment, but a lot of times it was like reflective of like, yeah, that is not really what I want women to see or think. Because if we believe that there's not room for all of us, then we're always going to start to like hoard our resources. And maybe we're happy helping another woman who has very different goals than we do. Right. But if we help someone who has similar goals, then do we somehow then start to believe the lie that their success is our failure? There's so many dynamics there. And I just thought we've got to start creating safe spaces to talk about hard things, because there's no excuse for women to believe that they're alone going through whatever it is that they're going through.
That's a really interesting point, or a really interesting insight that I think is really important, because there is room for everybody. And I know everybody feels it. And when you were talking about the media and whatever, I do feel like it makes you kind of feel like, wait, this person's doing this. And it's a competition, when it's really important to let people know that they are just as worthy and just as, like you said, they can do anything they want to do, and it doesn't take away from someone else doing what they're doing, or vice versa. And I love that. And I think that it is so important. So is that what you talk to people about when you go? Talk to me about what you're a very renowned speaker and in demand. And if y'all are listening, you need to book her for your events. But talk to me about who you talk to and what you're talking about.
It's interesting. I get hired to talk about different things. And even when a group books a program, I always want to get on a call and figure out exactly why they want that. Because the same program is going to look different at Penn State than it does at Texas A&M. They're different cultures. They just function differently. And so my goal is always to make a difference. I want to be able to move the needle, but everything that I speak about is always grounded in who has the right to determine your worth, because it is so easy for us to give our power away to other people and let other people determine our worth instead of that being us. And I see it happen over and over again. And so I love just loving on women, letting them feel seen. I really think at the end of the day, all any of us really wants is to feel seen and known, and to know that we matter in the communities we find ourselves in. I do a lot of consulting with headquarters for our sororities, and in those spaces, it's a lot of building on the member experience. Like, a lot of times we think of things as like, we need more rules and regulations. No, we need more belonging. And there's a way to do that in a positive way instead of a punitive way that people aren't always getting. But if people know that they matter, and that if they're not there, that it makes a difference to someone, then they're going to be more likely to want to show up. Oh, wow, and so a lot of what we talk about is, what do our friendships really look like? What do our support systems really look like? Have we let some, group of people, whether it's social media or, even just social circles, like, start to tell us who we are and what we're worth? because that all comes from a scarcity mindset.
What does a scarcity mindset mean?
A scarcity mindset is when we don't believe that there's room for all of us.
Gotcha.
So I believe that every one of us can 100% run forward, give it everything we got within our purpose, and be successful without ever being in the way of another woman's. Now, what we have to realize is some people's purpose is going to come with more notoriety, more attention. Some people's purpose is more behind the scenes, but it doesn't make it less than, you know?
Right.
I mean, you know as well as anyone that like when you're in the front of the camera, you're kind of a target for just, you know, a lot of opinions, a lot of noise, right? So there are pros and cons to everything. But I think a lot of times at this particular age, our young women see somebody become go viral for a positive thing or become an influencer. And they're like, oh, that's the life I want. And it's like, but why are we comparing our real life to someone else's highlight reel and expecting that it's apples to apples? Because
Right.
It's not. We never know anybody's whole story.
Right.
I always talk about how to build confidence and where we find it, and whether or not we are leading and contributing to our community from a place of confidence or insecurity.
Oh,
Because
wow.
it's actually really easy to confuse the two. Sometimes insecurity is loud and it's demanding and it needs the attention. I would argue that confidence says, I know exactly who I am, no matter who else is in the room.
I love that. I love that.
It doesn't mean I think I'm perfect. Like perfect isn't real. That's something you will hear me say over and over and over. We've got to stop making perfection the expectation. But if we can decide that we love ourselves and that we see the good in ourselves, I'm so tired of hearing women like bond over things they hate about their bodies. I'm so ready for women to be like, oh my gosh, I look great today. You do look great today. I'm really liking how my lashes turned out today. Yeah. And I love, like, why are those not our conversations? Why do we believe the lie that is somehow arrogant or full of themselves? Like, we're only going to respect women that like are down on themselves so that we can be part of lifting them up. Yes, we want to be part of lifting people up, but like, why can't we connect over being confident yet imperfect? I always say we are all beautifully flawed. So why not say, I know exactly who I am, regardless of who else is in the room, because I know where I'm great. I know what I bring to the table. I know what I offer relationships. I know what I offer people that I come into contact with. I also am very aware of where I'm growing. And I also know that every person I interact with has something that I can learn from. So there's this like confidence with humility is the most beautiful place that we can ever be, because then we're open to growth, but we're also not posturing or letting someone else make us feel like we're not enough.
Okay, so I just, y'all, scramble. I was looking at her and listening to her, but I'm like writing. Hopefully I'll be able to read it later, just because it's so powerful what you're saying. And it's so really and truly. And when we talked the other day, you were talking about how let's, and I was not planning on doing this, but for people going through rush, like when we talk or recruitment, when we were talking about this the other day, you were talking about why would you want to mold yourself or talk about that, like specifically about people going through rush. And I feel like you also, I'm babbling and I didn't really ask you a question yet, but the why, like you said that when you reach out or when people reach out to you to speak, you find out their why. And that's a big part of what we do with our clients. You know, find out your why. Like, why do you want to be part of Greek life? Or why do you want to be in a sorority? And what are you looking for? And talk about a lot of noise. I quoted someone who was on this podcast before, and it got completely taken out of context and ripped in the media, but it was, be who you're looking for is looking for. And that was something that Katie Bulmer said on my podcast. And what it means is if you're looking for genuine friends, then be a genuine friend. But you have to know what you're looking for before you can find it, I think. I mean, you have to know what and I know I'm not making any sense. I'm like,
you are.
I'm trying to say that the why is so important in anything you have to understand your why, and you have to understand why someone is reaching out to you. And you were talking about, going back to the original question, and it's still probably, you're going to probably not remember it because I'm not saying it right. But we were talking.
No, I know where you're going.
So where am I going? Tell me. Because I mean, I know where I'm going, but I'm not saying it right.
No, I think you're saying it well. I think what you're wanting me to talk about is how we show up as the best version of ourselves without trying to fit in the box of what we think someone else wants us to be.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I could have not babbled on for 5 minutes, and I could have just said, "What am I trying to say?" Because you said it before. But I think it's so important for people listening to this to understand that, and it does translate to all different things in life, but talk about that.
So a lot of the work that I do is in sorority recruitment. I am usually gone speaking on campuses all of August and a lot of January as well for campuses that have deferred recruitment. And one of my favorite things to do is to get to talk to all of the potential new members, because there are so many amazing benefits available to people that join our Panhellenic communities. And honestly, I think the benefits are actually greater as an alum than as an undergraduate. And a lot of times, all people know is like a 4-year social life. They don't even know about the rest that is there. So I'm a big advocate for the experience, of course, and for membership, but also love having the opportunity to be transparent that formal recruitment is bananas.
That needs to be a bumper sticker on my car.
Formal recruitment, right?
But I always say rush, and I know that's wrong. And
yeah, it's the same thing.
But formal recruitment is bananas. Love it. Never heard that one.
Yes. And I think especially with today's students, it's one of the only times that they are meeting a bunch of people like this instead of through this.
That's the phone, in case you're listening and not watching.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I'm very visual. Yes. Instead of, eye to eye, face to face, instead of through a phone. And that's a lot of pressure for this new generation. And I think we need to be more real that it is a flawed process. It's just the best anybody's come up with at this point, to have a lot of people meet a lot of people in a short amount of time. But we need to know that the roller coaster effect is normal. I always say you're going to meet people through this whole process that found their perfect place somewhere different than they first had a heart connection.
Yes.
So be open. You don't want to go somewhere because, they just had a TikTok video go viral. Like, you don't want to go somewhere that you're going to constantly feel like you're having to measure up or be someone different than who you are to fit in. You want to go somewhere that at 2 a.m, if you've just broken up with someone the same night as a big party on campus, there are people that are going to be willing to hang back with you.
Love that.
You want to find your people.
Oh my gosh. Find your people. Yes.
Yes. And I truly believe that you can make lifelong friends in any chapter on any campus if you are open. But we also need to be real about the fact that you're also going to find people that you don't vibe with in every chapter on every campus. And that is just life. And it's so easy to, only have the context of social media and think, oh, I know everything because, I watched this TikTok or I watched this person talk about their experience. I mean, one of the things that I bring to the table in consulting is that campus cultures are very different. So someone that knows all about how recruitment works on one campus, that might be relevant to 5, maybe 10 others, but it is not across the country.
Right.
There are big differences in how things work, what people are looking for. I've even had to teach some of our interns when it comes to things that are trending. I had one at Tennessee and one at Arizona. And I was like, okay, Arizona, you've got to understand that Tennessee is looking at you and being like, why do you basically wear no clothes to a football game?
Right.
Why are you guys wearing bikinis to a football game? And Tennessee, you've got to understand that Arizona's looking at you and saying, why are they wearing a muumuu to their formal? It is just different, And so realizing that you can find your people anywhere is really helpful. And I can't tell you the joy that I get after I speak on a campus, especially a few days into the process. I will have so many PNMs, potential new members, DM me and be like, you made me feel so much better about this, because it's not about finding a label. It's not about, I need to wear these letters. It should be about, I'm going to join this Panhellenic community. The letters are semantics. I'm going to find my people. And hopefully through the recruitment process, you've also been able to make friends with people in every single chapter, because that's what it should look like in the end. And so I love having the opportunity to empower these young women to know their worth in the process. Don't try to be something you're not, and show up as the best version of yourself. You know, your authentic self does not need to be, I wore pajamas to this round because that's what I felt like.
Right.
Like, we need to make sure that people have the opportunity to see what we bring to the table. And we also need to think about ahead of time, to your point, what is it that we're looking for? So we actually give PNMs, we have a conversation card series that gives them questions to ask to break the ice. These are great things to ask during a recruitment party. My golden question is, what's important to you? Because if you can find out what's important to someone and be ready to share what's important to you, you might have a depth of what they value more than somebody that you live with for a whole semester.
Well, that's just like I'm interrupting you here. That's just like our conversation when we first started. Like, we figured out what was important to each of us, and it was very much aligned. And just by asking that question. So yes, continue. So I had to say, this is gold. And if y'all are listening and you've listened before, one, thank you. But two, I mean, she sounds exactly like me, right? Like everything. I mean, well, she is more eloquently saying exactly what I believe and think. But so continue. I'm sorry I interrupted. And if you're anything like me, you've already lost your train of thought, but continue.
No, I love it. And I know I talk a mile a minute too, so feel free to interrupt me. But yeah, having that conversation card series, it just, a lot of times I call those icebreakers like, this is Dumbo's feather. You're not going to need this, but if it makes you feel more in control to have it, like go in with a few questions ready. But some of those reflective questions, so we have questions that we like to ask PNMs to ask themselves reflectively after every round before they send in their rank list. Because it asks things like, am I making my own decisions, or am I just being influenced by outside noise? You don't want to end up joining somewhere because other people love it.
Right.
If it's not where you belong. And there is no right or wrong answer, despite the way that, I always say if I had one wish, it would be world peace. If I had two, it would be to get rid of things like yik yak and Greek rank that are just mental health killers. They're, it takes zero courage to say mean things from behind a keyboard, And so I just want to see more women own their confidence in the process to say, this is where I feel really good about myself. When I am inside this chapter facility or I am with this group of women, I feel like I matter. I feel like they get me. We can talk about crazy random things, Now, I don't want PNMs or active members, going in and asking weird things like, what kind of, if you were a kitchen appliance, what would you be? I'm always like, where did this come from? It's like,
and it doesn't matter, that kind of stuff is not going to bring you closer to finding your people.
Exactly. Yes. So you want to find your people that you can be that silly with.
Right.
But going in to any place and feeling like you have to perform or like your job is to make them laugh. I do a lot of recruitment counselor training too. And we talk a lot about knowing our worth outside of validation. If you need these PNMs to like you, you're dead in the water. You're not going to be true to what you need to be true to in this process. And so my very favorite work that I get to do is when it's with one campus long-term. I've worked with University of Arizona for 8 years. I'm doing some really meaningful work at Boulder right now. We're getting ready to start it at San Diego State. And I love when I get to work with every chapter. I get to work with the PNMs. I get to work with the recruitment counselors. I get to work with the exec boards and Panhellenic, because we start using what I like to call congruent language. And we really start moving the needle on what campus culture looks like, whether or not we truly are a supportive community across letter lines, so to speak,
right,
or if we're just finding our confidence in what other people say about our letters or feeling no confidence about that. But getting them to see where we're giving our power away is so freaking cool, Trisha, because those are the moments that if they can figure that out now, they're just going to be happier, healthier humans for the rest of their lives. So truly, if I'm going to just come out of the closet and expose myself, I love sorority. I love sorority recruitment. I think it's really fun. It can also be traumatic. It can also be awful for some people. I use it as a vehicle to get women to know themselves better, to be better friends to one another, and to like themselves more. But it is not that sorority is the end all be all.
Right.
I also, hired by Panhellenics, stand in front of PNMs and tell them, if your people are not within this community, that is okay. They are still here. Nothing hurts my heart more than someone not wearing letters that they wanted to wear and feeling like they have to transfer schools. I'm like, this is not a healthy mindset. Your people are here. And some people join differently. COB, I think, is definitely going to start trending and becoming more popular.
I agree. COB, y'all, if you don't know, is continuous open bidding. And that is the process of getting bids, not through formal recruitment, but either after or ongoing through the year. Little definition.
No, it's important because I forget sometimes. I'm so used to talking to people that are already in this world. So I appreciate you doing that.
Also, I don't know if I told you about this, but one time this sorority asked me to speak and I did not do my homework. This was a long time ago. I did not know why they wanted me to speak. And I also assumed that they knew more than they did. So I gave this whole speech and I was doing it all day. It was a retreat, different groups all day. And the first one, the advisor came up to me and she said, I think you should introduce yourself and tell them what you do for a living and why you're here. And I was like, okay. Anyway, my point is, yeah, I was like, anyway. Continue.
I totally get that.
That was a big learning. Anyway, and I hadn't, I was using things like that. And then I was like, wait a minute. It wasn't COB because they were in a sorority. They knew that. But it's really important, I think, or when we're in our world, for me, I'm like, oh, wait, I just said that. But so, yeah, I'm happy to interject so that you can continue your brilliance and I can just be the layperson translating when it gets confusing or just the terms. But anyway, go ahead.
Thank you.
I think, so continue with the COB thing, what you were saying. I apologize for interrupting.
No, you are fine. Thank you for helping me make sure that I'm translatable. I think a lot of times people, I will watch thousands of PNMs come in like deer in the headlights and they're like, I have to be enough. I have to be enough. And I get to be like, you're already enough. You just need to present yourself that way.
Right.
And it doesn't mean being entitled. It doesn't mean I deserve this. It means I know what I bring to the table. I can tell you 5 things that make me a really good friend to other people. I also like to have PNMs ask potential new members, the women going through the process, ask before they go through, what do I want to get out of this process? Where would I like to be a contributor? No chapter is successful because 10 people do everything. Right. We've got to figure out where we can contribute. And whether that's, I'm great with art and I like to make banners, or I'm a spreadsheet person and I can be the VP of finance. It is all needed, but we can't just go in with a consumer mindset either. And so whether people join through formal recruitment, whether they join through informal recruitment, whether they join as a freshman or a junior, whether they say, you know what, I met some really great people, but this isn't for me, all of it is okay. But knowing who you are and what you need, instead of getting caught up in the mindset of anxiety of I have to have this or I'm not enough, that is a lie.
Yes.
And one of the other things, Trisha, that I talk about on every campus, I believe that every campus has lies that exist within it, and we just have to figure out what they are there. A lot of times lies on a college campus show up as, I have to be this size to be pretty. I have to party this many nights to be relevant. I have to be seen hanging out with these particular people, or I don't matter. At Stanford, Berkeley, this shows up as, if I'm not pulling all-nighters 3 nights a week, I'm not working hard enough. And none of these beliefs are rooted in fact.
Right.
But sometimes they're just things that we see happening around us. So we start buying in. It's like, did you ever hear about that experiment where people entered an elevator and faced backwards and the people that were already in the elevator turned around?
Oh, wow. No, that's cool.
Fascinating, right? And it's just amazing how easily we are influenced if we are not intentional and we are not grounded and coming from a place of knowing our worth. And so there are times that we give our worth, or we give the power to someone else to determine our worth, and we don't even realize we've done it. And sometimes it's a mean girl thing. Sometimes it is, just campus culture. I will tell you, I've seen so many amazing, beautiful, intelligent freshmen come into a campus. And by sophomore year, they are jaded, they are unhappy, they wear more eyeliner. I don't know why that's a correlation, but it seems to be. And they're just angry and hurt and they feel alone. And they don't realize that it's because they've handed their self-worth over to a campus culture or sometimes a group of men that in my mind has done nothing to earn it. And seeing that happen over and over was what made me call my agent and say, I need to go on hold.
Wow.
And it's been permanent. I've turned down two movies since, and I've not looked back because there's so much purpose in what I just felt a calling to create. And that's safe spaces for women to talk about hard things, because no one should have to believe that they are alone. And especially at a time when you were legally a child months ago, and now all of a sudden the world is your oyster. But every option in front of you is wrapped in candy and glitter, and nobody's talking about potential consequences of things. And your frontal lobe won't be developed for another 5 years.
Wow.
That's a lot of pressure.
Wow. And I'm glad that you said earlier that we all have a space, because I'm literally listening to you and I'm like, she could have written my book. She could have written my book. I can't wait till you get my book. You're going to die. I mean, like literally everything that you said, I was like, it just means that we believe in the same thing, which is that this is a conversation that needs to be happening. You need to be talking to these people, and people need to understand that they need to figure out their why and who they are and what they're looking for and show up to achieve those goals, but without being distracted by the shiny things. And
yes,
my phrase that I say in my book is block out the noise, but it's really important. And it's really important for you guys listening. And for if you're a parent listening to this, you need to know. And when we deal with this a lot, parents are like, well, my daughter needs to be in one of these top 5 sororities or whatever. And I'm like, wait, your daughter needs to figure out where she fits. And in every sorority, just like you just said, she's going to find people that she connects with and people that she doesn't. And it does not matter what the letters are on their chest. That's across the board. So, and that's a really good thing, because you're going to find your people no matter where you are. So just show up as yourself and don't look for the shiny things, because the shiny things underneath it, you're not getting the full picture.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so grateful, Trisha, that I've gotten to know you a little bit. And I'm so thankful for where you are coming from, because transparently, I have never had a good taste in my mouth about recruitment.
Consultants.
I've seen instances where people pay a lot of money to get a certain result. And then if the result's not there, it's the girl's fault because she wasn't enough or she didn't listen hard enough. And I love that, and sure, personal responsibility is definitely a part of that. But I am so grateful that you are more committed to building confidence in these women than getting an outcome that checks a certain box that gets the dopamine hit, but also the validation of the world, because we know how fleeting that is,
Fleeting, and it's exhausting. Like you said, it would be exhausting to wear certain things and be coached to say certain things and to be coached to do specific things with that target in mind. Because then if that's not authentically you, for the next 4 years and the rest of your life, you are going to be exhausted trying to continue that. And that's so absolutely not what we coach. Like, you have got to figure out what is authentically you and show up as that and look for that, because that's the only way you're not going to be exhausted and anxious. And I mean, you still might be anxious about other things or that thing, but you're really a leg up with that if you are showing up and looking for that and blocking out the shiny things for sure.
Yes, I completely agree. Yeah, and at the end of the day, we just want them to be happy, healthy human beings.
That's it.
And I know that when we are happy, healthy human beings, we are also better friends to one another
Right.
because we're not needing to be, we don't need to find our worth in being better than or less than other women. But
Right.
that's what happens when we don't believe that there's room for all of us.
Right.
So we first have to adopt the mindset that, you know, as women going through recruitment, you are not each other's competition. The more of you that stay in the process, the larger everybody's new member class is. So stop believing this lie that you're competing with the girl next to you. That is not how this works. You know, there is room for everybody.
Yes.
We just want everybody to find the place where they best belong. And if that is within a Panhellenic community and within a sorority, awesome. If that is through an MPHC or MDC organization, which are multicultural, the National Panhellenic Conference, which is your traditionally Divine Nine, like, or even just a campus club or student government, like there is a place for you.
Yes.
And I love being able to talk about what my sorority experience did for me, especially when I wasn't someone that I even was sure would join a sorority. The fact that I've now made it my life is kind of comical. And
I feel like one of us is superfluous in this conversation because you literally are saying, again, more eloquently, everything that I say. But so, I mean, like, wow. Yeah, it's okay. I'm going to not interrupt you anymore because we're almost done. But so I love that you've made this your mission and your life's work. And it's so important what you're doing.
Thank you.
It really is.
Thank you. It is. It gives me so much meaning.
So how can people find you?
Oh, well, College Moxie on Instagram is a good place to find us. We also do a lot of fun giveaways and mental health tips and just fun things there. You can find me through my Instagram as well, or you can always DM the College Moxie Instagram, and our wonderful interns that run that will get messages to me. But you can also DM me at the Lizz Carter. I've had the Instagram longer than the husband, so that's why the Clark is not on there. Yes. And then my email and information is always on the College Moxie website as well. And we just, my team and I, you know, we're a nonprofit. I have never paid myself. My husband still is like, tell me again why that is. Because every time a campus pays me to speak, we put it back into the nonprofit so that we can say yes to campuses that don't have a budget. Or, you know, we're planning this awesome women's leadership conference that I'm so excited about. And, you know, people are paying to come because it's in Cancun, because I know their love language is Instagrammable moments, but they're not even paying like our full fee. You know, we're able to subsidize some of that because I always want it to be as accessible as possible. And so my team of volunteers is phenomenal. And I'm so proud of who we have on our team, and, you know, everybody that volunteers for me and interns for us too. Everybody is always just so happy to connect with anyone and any questions they have about the sorority process, about a specific campus, about, you know, how to intern for us or what got us started. We're always just kind of an open book because we think the more we can be authentic and connective, the more we're really, you know, living our values and just trying to make the world a safer, better space mentally and in the space of positivity and happiness for college women.
Wow. Yes. That's awesome. Sign me up. I will do, I'm serious. I'll do anything to support your mission that I can.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know that I can, because you've got it all, but I would love to support that in any way that I can. So, I mean, what a gift you are to our listeners. What a gift you are to me. Thank you so much for being here. I cannot tell you how important your message is. I know you really like a message, and messages are important, and you gave a great one today. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for just having me and giving me the time and the space. I love being able to share this, and I love that we have a heart connection and just the confident women that we want every woman going into college to be. So thank you.
And every woman everywhere, because I learned a lot from you. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot.
Okay, so because I surround myself with rock stars and because I'm leaning into rush prep for these episodes, I'm not going to do Time Out with Trisha because that is rush prep. So anyway, the whole episode was rush prep. So thank you for listening. In the meantime, check out my Instagram at Rush with Confidence for more tips. We're leaning into the preparing because it's almost go time. See you next week. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Mad Rush Podcast. If you are enjoying this podcast, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. For additional Rush tips, updates, and more, please follow me on Instagram at Rush with Confidence. If you would like to reach out to us or for more information, please email info@madrushpod.com. This podcast is produced by Collier Landry and Don't Touch My Radio. Copyright Trisha Adams.